I had just moved across state lines with my daughter, so I was away from family. I was definitely struggling. I took my tax refund. I took a chance on myself. I bought the collective's membership. I think I paid for a year up front and I dove in. It took me 4 years to get here, not because I wasn't trying hard enough, but because there are so many other things going on, and that's okay. Everything's not linear.
Jordan came to us almost 4 years ago, and I vividly remember our first call together. Her little daughter was sitting and singing in her lap, waving hi to me as Jordan and I chatted about her game plan. She had just made a major move to a town she didn't know anyone in and was launching her freelance grant writing business on the side of working 40 hours a week with her daughter at home. As a single mom, she was literally handling it all. Jordan's story is a story of resilience and faith, and I know that you will find deep sources of inspiration in her journey to becoming a thriving grant writing consultant. Meet Jordan.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have been with us for almost 4 years. Pre-collective, what drew you to seek out a grant writing community?
I had just moved across state lines with my daughter, so I was away from family. I was definitely struggling, but I just knew that grant writing was what I wanted to do with the degree I had just gotten, but they didn't train me on the specifics of grant writing for my communications degrees. I found you guys. I wanted to take the leap. It was the first time I'd ever invested in a course before, but I had decided I'm going to stick to this. I'm going to do the best that I can and succeed with it. That way that I can go forward faster than if I'm just switching. I took my tax refund. I took a chance on myself. I bought the collective's membership. I think I paid for a year up front and I dove in.
Wow, I did not know that about the tax refund. What a beautiful way to reinvest in yourself.
Yep, that was the only way I could afford it. And I was like, probably should put this in savings, but this could go further, and it has.
You are now exponentially increasing your savings. When you joined, what was your definition of success?
It was simple at the time, just paying the bills, getting to stay home with my daughter. At the time, I was working 40 hours a week home. I'm a single mother. I don't have a co-parent. My daughter was home with me because I had this crazy idea that I worked from home and I can also homeschool her as a single parent, which is absolutely crazy, but I did do it. It was very difficult, but I didn't like that I was working 40 hours. So I wanted to be able to get out of that and have more flexibility with her because she was 2 and 3 years old. She could be in my lap while I was working, but she needed me to connect more with her. Success was being able to be flexible with my hours, being able to be with her and not answering phones when she needed me.
When Meredith and I have read all your wins this year, it's just so sweet because you have worked so hard for this. Take me back to a challenging moment on this journey.
The first one was doing the informational interviews because I was dealing with so much when I joined the collective. I was working a full-time job, homeschooling my daughter. I had just gotten out of a violent relationship. I moved across state lines, away from my family support, and then I'm trying to work on this business on my own, on the side whenever I can. So doing the informational interviews was already nervous-making for a lot of people, but then to have my nervous system so erratic with all these other things, doing them was like I was immobilized for so long. Eventually, I did start doing them on my lunch breaks, and I met really wonderful people doing them. I would get really sick right before, and I would still do them. I would try to do a couple a month. Eventually, I got used to that feeling. I got better at doing them, and now I enjoy them. They're one of my favorite things to do. And that happened actually pretty quick within the first year. And I was like, oh, I can do this. This isn't as scary, and it is important.
You are doing so much. I think resilience is obviously the word that comes up for me in watching your journey unfold. Why did you wake up and every day choose to do something even harder?
I didn't wake up every day and do it. I have to say that I had to take a lot of time for myself, a lot of doing nothing and just give myself grace to do nothing. But overall, I just knew that my daughter deserved more. This lifestyle, I'm so obsessed with living with her, alongside her. I had to make it happen. And I knew I could. I'm a big believer in manifestation and manifesting your dreams. And I know that I have that power within me. I knew that if I stuck with it, it would happen. It took me 4 years to get here, not because I wasn't trying hard enough, but because there are so many other things going on. And that's okay. Everything's not linear.
We're hearing you now, and everything in hindsight, everything in retrospect sounds much more peaceful than it does when we're living it in the moment. How did you work through releasing the timeline?
About a year ago, I lost my job. I feel like I was fighting it up until then. It wasn't even my choice. I was let go. And it was about a week after I had moved back home because I couldn't handle it any longer the stress of being alone with no family support. It was so aligned that I was hurt a little bit. I knew it was so that I could work on my business because I didn't have the strength to do it myself. I was being taken care of and the step was being handed to me because I couldn't take the initiative. I feel like that was a really big step into, I had a whole year now to focus on my business.
So you're like, oh no, I just lost my job. This is really scary. My daughter still needs me. I still need to pay bills, all the things. What did you do first?
I called my grandfather and asked him if I could live with him. I lost my job maybe 2 years ago now. He lost my grandma 4 years ago, so that was still pretty fresh when I moved in with him. It was like really good for both of us, and I thought that beforehand, like maybe it will give him some company and it'll be good for me to have like a good guy around to build this relationship with my grandfathers. That was the first thing I did. After that, it was just sending out emails for informational interviews, and I stuck with local because I have a lot of contacts because I was a client at a lot of nonprofits growing up. My mother was also a single mom of 4 kids when I was younger. I contacted all of the nonprofits that we were touched by in my life when I was younger or when I was pregnant with my daughter. I got some great connectors who sent me this way or that way, and eventually I landed my first client within, I think, the first 6 months.
Incredible. And then it just kind of dominoed from there. So talk about the flow of momentum. Like what happened when you went full in? How was it different than doing it on the side of a full-time job?
I had a lot more time. I also gave myself more time to do nothing and to kind of heal from all that stress that I was carrying in the other state. But I had a goal, and then we did the summer informational interview challenge, which really propelled me forward with those. Now I knew how many emails I needed to send out to get an interview and how many interviews I needed to get about on average to get a client to sign my proposal. That was inspiring to me. So I figured out a process and a system to do that, and I just kept going at it. It started becoming enjoyable, and then the informational interviews are enjoyable, especially when they're with the community you live in. And it wasn't super salesy. I was just like very friendly. It kept me going, like being able to have that community, and then people sending me referrals to other places. Got my first client, which was local, and I have my second client this year who is local, but I have 2 others that are out of state as well.
So cool. I think that's the power of curious conversations, is you get to figure out if you guys can work together. You have an immense list of things to be proud of, but what are you most proud of on this journey?
I think it is not giving up, even though there's been times where I questioned if it was even worth pushing through to do this, but deep down I knew it was. I love grant writing. I love being able to give back to the community that gave me so much. That alone has kept me going, but then also to be able to write and to be able to manage a business, which I really love. I think technical writing, I'm really much better at that than fiction writings. I think just not giving up has been the thing that made me the most proud.
We would love to know a little bit about the work and the impact that you are creating in this world.
One of the really cool projects I'm working on is a tiny homes for domestic violence survivors who are older, senior level women who typically are forgotten in the system. They are restarting after having their finances usually blocked from their abusers. They have nothing, and they're later in life where you've already got ageism and working, you've got disabilities where it's more difficult for you to work, a little bit harder for them to get a step up and get a hand up, and they have the opportunity to lease to own and own the home in the end. It's one of my biggest passion projects I'm working on right now.
To be honest, I'm shocked, but I hadn't really thought about that demographic, and you're totally right. Like, what do you do when your financial means are shut off? 60, 65, 75 has to be terrifying. That is incredible. We are going to end with some rapid fire questions. What is your favorite soul care activity?
Reading.
What is your favorite way to celebrate?
Buy something. Go shopping.
We kind of touched on this, but what is your why?
There's a lot of whys to give back to the community, but also I was a domestic violence survivor, and so that is the main nonprofit that I want to work with who serve other domestic violence survivors. I just want to help this issue become solved, but also figure out what we can do as a society to prevent it from happening.
You are so beautiful, and I am just so grateful for your journey and your vulnerability. You and I have had some of the most incredible conversations that I've had with unicorns throughout the year, and I am so happy that you and your daughter are just living the life that you have dreamed about for you too. It is truly a gift to all of us, to all the seniors that you're helping, to all of the victims and survivors of domestic violence. Like, thank you. Thank you for showing up in this world because it needs you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see what happens next, because 4 more years and you're going to be building an empire. We'll see you in round 2.
Hey, thank you.